All right, it is the 27th day of May 2025, the very last Tuesday of this month. We're in the last stretch. My name is Anne Odida. This is Morning Cafe. Karibu sana.
We only have about 5 days to go before we get into June. I tell you, my birthday month.
Yes. 1st of June.
My name is Fred Indipuli. Karibu to Morning Cafe.
Karibu sana. Tuangalie magazeti. Tunaanza na The Standard, sliding into anarchy.
And a very troubling front page there on The Standard this morning. State terror, something similar on the front page of the Daily Nation.
People Daily revealed 2027 plot to send Ruto home, and that photo there, a troubling photo going round.
Fallout looms as Gachagua Jubilee fight for dominance. This is a story we saw yesterday as well.
Yeah. Taifa Leo, tuna siri ya kung'oa Ruto. Wako hapo. Tutasoma siri ni gani?
And on the Business Daily, how identity theft racket is trapping Kenyans into tax debt.
All right. We'll be back to take a look at the local dailies, lakini tuvuke boda kwanza kule Uganda. Daily Monitor, we are sorry for any mistakes, Museveni's. Forgive us. President Museveni and First Lady Janet Kataha Museveni used a religious crusade at the weekend to ask for forgiveness from the people of Uganda and Ugandans at large for any errors they might have made in the 4 decades they have been at the helm of the country.
Kwani wanasema goodbye?
Hey.
Ndio watu wakianza hivi inamaanisha ni kama
adios.
Adios.
Adios muchacho. Forgive us.
But it's only natural. Ukiangalia Museveni mali amefika, I think ameambiwa
Unaona kiacha?
hata asipoacha masaa inaisha.
Sidhani hata. Labda ni kifo imtoe hapo.
Si ndio hiyo masaa inaisha. Hata Mugabe alikaa hapo akakaa lakini eventually walimtoa.
We? Letu jicho to the elephant that is Kawempe North. They're here. Anasema hapa ni a photo montage of NRM's Farida Nambi left and NUP's Elias Nalukola. Lakini hapa amekaa sister, actually thought ni sister. Sister wa Catholic Church. Uganda's digital shilling, a safe bet or just a digital gamble? It's a question there on page 17. And over 400 arrive in Namugongo for June 3rd. What to expect as national ID's mass enrollment starts? The National Identification and Registration Authority, NIRA, will today officially start the nationwide mass enrollment and renewal exercise for national identity cards, of course, in Uganda. That's the Daily Monitor.
Before we leave that story,
Okay.
you see, there's something happening in Uganda, if you've noticed over the past 1 week. You remember a day when on the front pages, there was a gentleman saying they're going to tame Muhoozi Kainerugaba.
Yes.
It's called General Saleh. Now, General Saleh is actually Yoweri Museveni's brother. So he's an uncle to Kainerugaba.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I saw Muhoozi apologizing on Twitter to Saleh and calling him a Afande. I respect you, you're my elder, and I'm sorry, and I cannot do anything else. Alafu wanakuja kusema goodbye. Probably the expectation that it's Kainerugaba who's going to take over after his dad is a bit wrong. It could actually be his brother, General Saleh.
Saleh.
Yes. Moto unaonea hivi vitu mbali.
We,
Anakuja.
analyst. Any analyst.
Mimi analyst.
Okay. Tukisalia kule Uganda, New Vision.
Why Nalukola lost his seat? MP heads to Court of Appeal over Kawempe polls court verdicts. Ile by elections ya Kawempe. Ilikuwa kitambo, it was like a month ago.
Kawempe North?
Ago. Yes, Kawempe North. So who was the guy who was in former MP, ni kama anasema kuna mambo pale, ameenda kotini. Pale chini promoting hygiene, another story there. Pale juu of course lazima kuwe na picha ya Museveni sasa hapa anamwagia mti maji leo. Juzi alikuwa akisalimia ng'ombe. Leo na ile siku nyingine akikata ndizi. Leo anamwagia mti maji, and it has to feature there. Museveni asks leaders to assess UEP policy. NRM polls full list of winners. Yes. NRM is a National Revolution Movement, which is a ruling party in Uganda. And that's the New Vision.
All right. Tanzania, MPs echo Samia's warning of foreign peace destabilizers.
Tumeitwa nini hapo? Hiyo niko sure it's directed at us.
Yes.
Wa Kenya, by the way, we become celebs in the region.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tunaongelewa sana. Na jana tulikipati wamesema wametushinda akili, wametushinda masomo, yani sisi ni bongo lala. Lakini
wanatuogopa bado. Ndio wanatuita foreign peace destabilizers.
Tanzanian lawmakers erupted in anger on Monday, accusing Kenyan activists of attempting to interfere in the country's internal affairs and warning that Tanzania should not be treated like a public toilet where individuals can enter and exit without consequences.
Okay. What is the consequence of this if we said the same to them? Unajua watu wanaweza ongea sana wazungumze. Jirani by the way wanazungumza sana. Tukifunga border tuseme hata nyinyi msije huku kwetu na Watanzania wote wako hapa watoke waseme. Some things you don't meddle in them. Tafadhali tulieni moto.
Washasema they're better than us.
Jirani atulize boli sasa.
Wanasema we welcome foreign investors, tourists and other guests, but we will not tolerate those with hidden agendas. Unajua ni kama mtu kusema they hate your mother but they like you, because they say they have an issue with Kenyan activists but they don't have an issue with Kenyans. If you have an issue with Kenyan activists, you have an issue with Kenyans.
Kujeni hivyo vile mnakuja. Kujeni tu hivyo vile mnakuja jirani.
Yes, Samia's warning pia iko pale, anasema addressing the controversy during the launch of Tanzania's new foreign policy on May 19, President Samia Suluhu has warned against allowing foreign activists to interfere under the guise of activism. Ile caricature jana ya frog.
But then again I wonder, okay, to what end would such a discussion be? Because we've been like brothers and sisters forever.
Yeah.
This kind of discussion, this kind of kurusha mdomo kusema nyinyi sijui mtafanya nini, mtakuja hapa
We are doing bad.
I think we should all just calm down.
Tukunywe maji
tutulie. Tunaenda wapi? They will still be here, we will still be here.
Yes.
And we'll still be friends and brothers. Yes.
Ningeambia wa hug cactus the way you were told.
We cannot tell them we are peace loving people. Na tunapenda kama jirani zetu.
Yes. Plastic bags ban unlocks new economic frontiers. Police fortify systems, slash crime rates ahead of 2025 general election. And how myths hinder hydrocell treatment in Tanzania. Kule juu Tanzania to penalize negligent contractors, says Works Minister.
But just look at this. They have elections in 4 months' time. Hiyo story wameweka hapa chini kwa kona.
Yes.
Wanashughulika na Wakenya hapa, habari kuu.
Priorities.
That's how important we are. Yes. Wanaharakati sasa wavuruga bunge. Hebu tuwasikize hapa, wanasema Tanzania haina ugomvi na marais wanaokuja kwenye taifa hili ikiwemo Kenya, Uganda, Burundi, Rwanda, Sudani wala DR Congo. Bila shida yetu tunataka kulinda umoja na mshikamano uliopo ili watu wengine wasije kuvuruga amani yetu. Same story they are talking about us. Ni hili tunalisema si kwa wanaharakati kutoka nje tu, lakini hata hapa nchini. Kama kuna mtu anaonekana kutaka kuvuruga amani ya nchi, akamatwe mara moja na kuwekwa ndani. Mimi nauliza, wale wa Kenya waliosimamishwa pale Dar es Salaam airport, walikuwa wamefanya nini? Walivuruga amani wapi? Walifika airport wakaambiwa rudi.
Labda walikuwa nenda Zanzibar.
Tanzania bado ni kisiwa cha amani. Hawa wanaotutukana majukwani na kwenye mitandaoni ya kijamii wakipata matatizo wao ndio wa kwanza kutegemea wakimbilia Tanzania. Ni ukweli? Anyway, pengine, lakini shida ni wale walishikwa kwa airport wakaambiwa rudi. Matusi yalikuja baadaye mitandaoni. That was not the problem. Hatukuwa na shida na Watanzania na kukuwa na matusi kabla ya hayo. Matusi yalikuja baadaye. Sasa mnakasirika, mnasema tunawavuruga. Hata hatujatoka Kenya, bado tuko kwa X. Nyinyi hata X mulizima. Tunaitangaza Tanzania. Waziri Mkuu Kassim Majaliwa alizindua jarida linaloelezea fursa za uwekezaji Zanzibar. Bashungwa agusia ajira mpya polisi magereza na kwingineko sekeseke saa 18 hitilafu umeme Muhimbili. Muhimbili ni hospitali kuu pale.
Okay.
Haikuwa rahisi kwa baadhi ya wagonjwa waliokuwa wamelazwa katika jengo la watoto na wenye matatizo ya figo hospitali ya taifa Muhimbili kuvumilia hali hiyo. Wakumbuke kama vile wanasema sisi tunakimbilia kwao. Wakumbuke kuna wakati nisiseme
Sema. What I do?
Rais wao alikimbilia huku.
Kenneth?
Yeah, Nairobi. Anasema huko hata Muhimbili inakosa umeme masaa 18. Wewe utakimbilia kule. Wajirani hao waachane na sisi pia wale. Gazeti la Mwananchi, sio sisi tumeliandika, ni Watanzania wenyewe.
All right. Sawa sawa. Tuangalie hali ya anga. Kuna joto kweli kweli East Africa. Tuone kuna kaa vipi.
Let's take a look at zoom.earth. Tuangalie hali ya mawingu yanavyotanda kwenye bara la Afrika. Kenya hakuna mawingu mengi, lakini kama tuta switch back to English, hii maneno ya mawingu yanavyotanda si kazi rahisi. We can see some cloud cover on the northern part of East Africa, areas, the borderline between South Sudan, Ethiopia and part of Sudan. Some nice cloud cover there, but once you come lower to the Kenya, Somalia, even Uganda, nothing much. Even that cloud cover that had stuck above Lake Victoria seems to have disappeared now. But there's a bit of low cloud cover along the coastline of Kenya. So let's take a look at areas like, is it Malindi? Yes, we do have Malindi there. Yes, it is mostly cloudy in Malindi, 24 degrees Celsius. It feels like 27, promises to be cloudy most of the day, highs of 29 degrees. And as far as precipitation is concerned, 2.5 millimeters. Yeah, so yes, zoom.earth huwa haidanganyi.
All right, tukienda sasa Kakamega. 14 degrees in Kakamega. Kuna kwanga baridi huko?
Wakati mwingine kuna kwanga na baridi.
14 degrees, mostly cloudy throughout the day, highs of 24. Precipitation in Kakamega is 4.1 millimeters.
Slightly
today.
higher
Than Malindi.
Garissa also is mostly cloudy today. Highs of 24 right now. Promises to get as high as 34 degrees, but a lot of cloud cover throughout the day. Will this result in any rainfall? Nope. 0 millimeters.
High. Nyahururu, 13 degrees, feels like 12, mostly cloudy throughout the day, highs of 23, and precipitation here is 0 millimeters. Huku ni Nyahururu, lakini wanasema kuna chances of rain.
0 millimeters. Ni ile tu unajua kule hata unaweza pata hata snow. Nyahururu can actually get very chilly.
It's very cold.
Finally, the Rift Valley, Eldoret, it's very chilly, 13 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy for the better part of the day, 20% chance of rainfall, highs of 24 degrees, precipitation 0. So a lot of rainfall probably tomorrow kwa Malindi and Kakamega.
Hi, Nairobi tukimalizia 16 degrees, feels like it's a very cloudy day, highs of 22. Leo kuna
It's a
baridi.
chilly day. 10.2 millimeters.
It will rain.
This one,
highest.
probably later in the day, around evening. Yes, and maybe into the night.
Yes. So that's the weather situation. 12 minutes past the top of the hour. Traffic situation in a car VP. It's 12 minutes?
Yes, around, 14 minutes actually past the hour.
Okay.
Traffic in Nairobi, I'd already spotted something at the interchange between, at the Pangani interchange, because you can see it's really affecting motorists from Kiambu Road. Usually the problem is around here, but you can see this small drift under the bridge. It's pushing back towards Muthaiga police station. That means there could be a problem here. So Kiambu Road, motorists using Kiambu Road, hapa leo kuna shida. Pangani interchange, this is not typical morning traffic. There's probably something happening there. It means you'll take longer there. Usually you stay there for about 10 minutes, then you move. This time around you can take even up to 15 minutes. Meaning, if you're coming from Kiambu Road and you can avoid the Pangani interchange, please do so this morning. Thika Road is looking good, but there's a very long stretch of yellow all the way from Garden City mpaka pale KCA University. Yeah? I don't know what's happening, but it's also slow traffic. Let's go further up Thika Road to see if at all there's any other issue. No, it looks good all the way at Roysambu. Another stretch of yellow between Githurai and Kasarani. So there's a bit of slow traffic on Thika Road this morning and compounding once you get to the Pangani interchange. That's a big problem there if you're coming from Thika Road or Kiambu Road. Outer Ring Road not looking so bad. Shida zile pale kawaida, Fedha, Tasia as you head towards Donholm. Jogoo Road kama kawaida pale Makadara, nothing new there. Today something different along Landis Road. You can see this stretch opposite Machakos Bus Station is getting very busy. Usually it's green at this time of day. Leo imekuwa a bit busy. Ukiingia town Haile Selassie Avenue also getting busy. So leo ni kama kuna kashida kidogo kwenye barabara kadhaa. Otherwise kule kwingine watu ni kama they are working from home. There's nothing to report on Ngong Road, Lang'ata Road, Mbagathi Way or Waiyaki Way. Coming into town from those directions, very smooth. Shida ile kubwa Nairobi leo, Pangani interchange.
Sawa sawa, let's take a look at the quote of the day.
Though filled with trials and setbacks, life also brings joy, love, and growth, making even its hardships meaningful and giving beauty to our journey through it all.
All right, let's come back and take a look at the local dailies. All right, let's start with the Standard newspaper. Sliding into anarchy. This is a Kenyan member of parliament, a representative of the people, abducted, tortured, and left for dead.
And I think that line says it all. That this, and you see the Standard has just given us one story on the front page.
Yeah.
No need for any other details, no need for any other headlines. This is a situation we are in, sliding into anarchy. Yeah? Kenyan MP, a representative of the people, abducted, tortured, left for dead. If this can happen to such a person, mimi ni nani?
Yes, a representative of the people.
Yes.
By last evening, Juja MP George Koimburi remained unable to speak, a chilling sign that the current regime's now familiar tactic of abducting and torturing critics may have struck again. Despite officials' denials, growing claims suggest that key law enforcement agencies have been weaponized to silence dissent. This story is on page 2 and 3. Special coverage for George Koimburi. Ulisikia venye analia. MP.
This is actually sad. You can imagine if they can do this to an MP. Someone who has even the potential of going inside parliament and using the parliamentary privilege to talk about what happened to him. What can happen to someone else who doesn't enjoy the same privilege? Why would they do this? The level of impunity. Anyway, nimesikia watu wakisema alijiabduct.
Yes.
Akajitocha. Alafu akajirusha hapo.
Kwa kofifa. All right. Kenyan safe, Koimburi's attack reignites abduction crisis. Hiyo ni swali ambayo MPs are also asking here. There's a question here on page 3 as well. Are these 4 men the worst of security bosses? They're here. Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen, Inspector General of Police Douglas Kanja, NIS boss Nordin Haji, and of course DCI boss Mohamed Amin. Are these 4 the worst of security bosses? Other stories here. Rigathi accuses NCIC of shielding president's allies. Some former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua's lawyer Kibe Mungai has lashed out at the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, NCIC, accusing it of bias and selective application of the law. Anasema kwamba before summoning Rigathi Gachagua, you, NCIC, should first deal with the dangerous rhetoric emerging from those closest to State House.
There's this story on page 15, and it's connected to what you're seeing. Are these 4 men the worst security bosses? They're quoting the current police IG, citing current police IG, current interior CS, head of NIS, head of the DCI. And on page 15, there's a story of the former IG of police, where the court has confirmed Kome's role in police brutality. Former Inspector General of Police has suffered a significant legal blow after the High Court dismissed his bid to overturn a ruling that held him personally accountable for police brutality against striking doctors, including the SG. Now, I wish that these four gentlemen should enjoy the same kind of treatment, that even after they leave office, whatever you did, you're held personally liable. If at all you did not do anything, fine. But if you did, you're held personally liable.
I'm a Davji, but no.
Very sad state of affairs.
Crisis deepens as capitation fails to reach schools. Head teachers face the grim reality of operating with barely enough funds to buy chalk, let alone run entire institutions. Now they want Parliament to intervene, demanding transparency and an end to bureaucratic blame games. Wale walitimua 87 bob.
87 shillings. Nambo iende kwa bank.
That's the Standard.
The Daily Nation, a continuation of the same story, State Terror. That's a big headline. A report the president handed to Parliament noted a rise in abductions blamed on crime. Now, even with no action taken against rogue security agents blamed for killing dozens of protesters during last June's Gen Z protests, there are growing concerns that a brutal crackdown on government critics has escalated. The latest victim of the state-sanctioned abductions is Juja MP George Koimburi. Police claim he stage-managed his attack. Alijichukua, akajiabduct, akajitocha, akajiumiza, akajiacha mpaka mahali ni kama almost anakufa, alafu akajipeleka hapo kwa kahawa, akalala. Hivyo ndio mnatuambia.
At what cost?
Sababu Kenyans amuna akili kabisa. Some leaders in crosshairs include Rigathi Gachagua. He says there has been quite a number of attacks during his events. Others are John Methu, who was attacked by police in Kakamega over the weekend, Cleophas Malala, George Koimburi, Jane Kihara, and of course the image of current police IG Douglas Kanja there on the front page. Police have been accused and they're on the spotlight, but they claim these people are abducting themselves. Yes. And we've heard that line over and over. Watu wanajiabduct, watu wanajiabduct. Wengine wanajiabduct mpaka wanajiua. Anajiua, anajipeleka mochari, sababu alijiabduct. Enyewe, sababu wa Kenya, hamuna nini? Hapa katikati ya kichwa, katikati ya masikio hakuna kitu. State House hand in Professor Nangwe's resignation from UN leadership. He finally resigned, and hopefully that will give way for recovery of UN. Kwengineko, conned by a prophet, CA now targets rogue religious broadcasters. That story was there on the front page of the Daily Nation yesterday. It's a continuation of the same. Ruto CS's clash over 4.5 billion shilling Bomas cash. The Treasury CS, John Badi, and his tourism colleague, Rebecca Miano, have disagreed over an allocation of 4.5 billion shilling to renovate the Bomas of Kenya, deepening the controversy surrounding a project that reportedly is to be financed by a Turkish firm. Yes. Following the clash between the two ministers, MPs have resolved to freeze the budgetary allocation until government sheds light on the matter. So a Turkish firm can fund the renovation of Bomas to the tune of 4.5. Meanwhile, pesa ya exams, which is about the same amount, haitapatikana. Sasa wazazi walipe. Ndio tukue na Bomas of Kenya.
Kuna 87 bob too.
Bomas of Kenya iko tayari, lakini we need to paint it. Shule tumia huyo headmaster 87 bob. Inawatosha wale. Wanataka pesa mingi ya nini? MP was tortured by professionals, Gachagua claims. That's another story there on the inside pages. On the back page, it's Matter Sports. Weresa Okech target world qualifying times. And that's the Daily Nation.
All right. People Daily revealed 2027 plot to send Ruto home. Strategy is opposition is banking on support from key regional voting blocs to make the incumbent a one-term president. Key opposition figures, Kalonzo Musyoka, Justin Muturi, of course, former public service CS, Rigathi Gachagua, Martha Karua, Eugene Wamalwa, and Fred Matiang'i.
Kuna watu wapendi kusikia hivi ati they're using regional voting blocks to plan ahead, but it's about numbers.
Yes.
Then again, what do you do?
Tunapenda kuignore vitu ambazo ziko.
It's rather obvious that you have to come from somewhere and this side votes like this. Now if you come together, you can vote this way.
You have to rally your people. Other stories here, court holds hiring of TSC boss. All right. Kule juu, uproar and queries greet MP Koimburi abduction. That's story of Koimburi MP. Standoff over rent arrears in Nairobi estates. We've talked about this for so long.
Watu hawajalipa rent.
Hakuna pesa. Trump alifanya ile kitu.
Could this happen again to the affordable houses wakipatia wa Kenya? Waambie lipa 3,000 shilling monthly. Alafu watu wafike mahali waseme hakuna pesa.
Iko affordable tena ushindwe. Sini affordable.
You can imagine how much people pay for rent on some of these houses. It's as low as 2,000 shillings and they don't pay.
Yeah.
So 3,900 shillings. Inafika mahali kazi inapotea, unakosa kulipa. Utanyang'anywa ile affordable housing.
But you know, for affordable housing, what is the criteria of getting a house?
Because you're supposed to pay for a period of 30 years. For you to own. Yes.
So
for
you
a
can
period
pay
of 30
once.
years. You can pay once, that's what they said, but many people, because it's affordable housing for those who are not able to raise the full amount at once. You pay that small amount, but over 30 years. What if at some point you are not able to continue paying?
Yeah.
Do you lose it? What if you pass on? Does it move to your beneficiaries?
Mtu mwingine anapewa. Uliona ile caricature, stay away from my house.
All right.
People did.
This is Kenya. On the Star, it is a Tuesday. Fallout looms as Gachagua Jubilee fight for dominance. This is a story that was on the front page of another paper yesterday, I think on the Taifa Leo, and People Daily, I guess. Because the issue is, Rigathi Gachagua and his allies now say, kutaka kuingia mlima ni DCP. They don't want maneno ya Jubilee. So now there's a fight for control of Mount Kenya because Matiang'i appears to be a very strong candidate and Jubilee are pushing that he is their candidate. What does that mean for DCP, which is the other bigger party within Mount Kenya region? Will they have to share loyalty or split loyalty there? They say a strong Jubilee could weaken Rigathi grip. Breakdown why Kenyan medics are in big trouble. Once top of their class and full of promise, young doctors now face a brutal truth. Medicine is not the prestige-filled path they dreamt of, but one paved with burnout, despair, and broken systems. Madaktari wanasema walisoma sana wakapata A, lakini maisha imekuwa ngumu. Wanaishi maisha ya wanyonge wanyongeni. Hunger for wholesome foods rises as illnesses soar. That story is on page 2, Matters Nutrition. Remember, today being a Tuesday, this paper is not for sale. Hata kama wameka bei hapo 60 bob, you usilipe hiyo 60 bob. This comes free today. And it comes with a complimentary pull-out, MyGov, for government tenders and jobs. Grab yourself a copy of the Star. Fresh, independent, different.
All right. I'm actually smiling sababu this one is my brother and he said something very, very funny on X. Alisema anajua hakuna kazi lakini ana doubt madaktari wamefika hiyo level ya kuuza sijui ni mask kama mahindi. He mentioned something like that on X. Miskela. Okay. Taifa Leo. Tuna siri ya kung'oa Ruto. Karua asema ingawa kila kigogo wa upinzani ametangaza kuwania urais mwaka 2027, hatimaye watamteua mmoja wao. Anasema wamekubaliana kuwa kila mmoja wao afanye mazoezi ya urais kabla ya kuamua ni nani anayefaa zaidi kati yao. Atangaza mkakati wa kushinda serikali pia katika ubunge, ugavana na useneta. Habari kamili katika ukurasa wa pili.
Kuna swali. Watu wengi wanasema waungane wote wakuwe pamoja. Wamuunge mtu mmoja. What if everyone was to run, all of them, each one of them was to run separately? What would be the effect? The effect would be that there would be so many splits and the possibility of a presidential runoff would be real. Then what happens then? Because of the runoff, it's only the two candidates, the top two candidates who are going for the runoff. Then the rest can actually now lump their support to one at that point. What would happen?
Unaonaje? Wakwe na mmoja ama waende wengi?
Waende wengi. Kila mtu aende kivyake. Kila mtu, Kalonzo aende kivyake, mwingine aende kivyake. Kila mtu ajipime kwa debe. Alafu ndio tujue wewe ni kama wewe ni hafifu. Wewe wanyonge wanyongeni. Wewe ndio unakaa huko.
Okay. Lakini that will be chaotic though. Kindiki naye achomoa kucha. Aliitwa Mr. Moneybags juzi. Anasema Naibu wa Rais Profesa Kithure Kindiki amempa onyo kali mtangulizi wake Rigathi Gachagua katika tukio linalodhihirisha vita vya ubabe wa Mlima Kenya baina yao. Anasema mzozo huu umezuka baada ya Gachagua kuwafokea wanamuziki waliomtembelea naibu wa rais nyumbani kwake wiki jana. Anasema they need to boycott.
Na alikuwa amekasirika, naibu wa rais alikuwa amekasirika sana.
Tuheshimiane.
Alikuwa amekasirika sana.
Wakenya wanyimwa vibali Tanzania. Atuli asema Wakenya wameanza kunyimwa vibali vya kikazi katika nchi hiyo jirani.
Ikiwa hii itaendelea na tuwanyime wa Tanzania vibali vya kufanya kazi hapa nchini pia. Hiyo ni kazi gani tunafanya sasa? Majirani tulieni bana. Tuliza boli. Shida iko wapi? Hata matusi ilikuwa tu kwa X. Na wakazima X. Sasa hawaoni hiyo matusi.
Wamesema jenzi wao, they are very orderly, they have decorum, lakini wetu, we have rogue jenzis.
Watatuzoea tu.
Trump sasa amuita Putin mweheu. Ini baada ya Urusi kuishambulia vikali Ukraine na kuua watu kadhaa wikini. Hiyo ni nini?
Lakini Trump alikuwa anasema Russia tumeongea nao hawatashambulia Ukraine tena. Na kwanza alimfokea sana Vladimir. Anaitwa nani ile? Volodymyr Zelensky. Sasa Putin ndo amekuwa mwehu.
Kila mtu huko. Natembea alakiwa kishujaa arejea magharibi kwa shangwe, vifijo na nderemo baada ya kushtakiwa kwa ufisadi na EACC 6 million Kenya shillings. On the top strip, kitendawili mbunge akitekwa. Mbunge wa George Koimburi apatikana shambani, adaiwa kuteswa na hata kupewa sumu. Masuala ya spoti pale, Liverpool na Bayern vitani kunasa Wits. Mvamizi nyota wa Dortmund ni kama andazi moto, kwani anatakiwa kote. Taifa Leo.
Let's take a look at business. Do have a copy here. Anasema how identity theft racket is trapping Kenyans in tax debt. KRA probe unearths tax evasion scam involving traders, victims' IDs and PINs being used to open companies. Innocent Kenyans, including domestic workers, have been trapped in a tax evasion scam after their details were used to open shell companies used to facilitate money laundering and non-payment of taxes. So umekaa tu unafanya kazi ya mamafua huko, hata una shughuli, lakini ID yako kumbe inafanya biashara ingine ya kimataifa. Your ID and your PIN is involved in a business worth billions of shillings. Alafu wewe ndo unakuja unatumiwa email unaambiwa sasa ni kama hujalipa tax ya about 230 million shillings. Unapigwa na butwa, unajiabduct, unajitocha, unajimaliza, unajirusha kwa kahawa. The Investigation and Enforcement Unit of the KRA has unearthed the racket dubbed the Identity Theft Tax Evasion Scheme, in which unsuspecting individuals are made directors or owners of companies without their knowledge. Then the perpetrators use the individual's ID and PINs to open companies that are used as conduits for tax fraud, including fictitious value-added tax returns. This is according to several court filings. Kila mahali ukienda hivyo unaambiwa andika jina yako hapa, andika ID, andika phone number, PIN ni nini, alafu inatumika. Another story on the front page of the Business Daily. Witch doctors bid to take dirty cash fight to Supreme Court fails. A self-proclaimed witch doctor and herbalist has failed in his bid to escalate to the Supreme Court a fight for his assets and cash that the state seized over money laundering links 8 years ago. Unajua mganga ukipeleka, wanasema kiendacho kwa mganga hakirudi. So watu wamejua ukipeleka you can go pay mganga any amount. Kumbe anaenda na bank. Anasema mimi ni mganga, pesa nimeletewa. Alafu na bank anakurudishia money laundering. On the Tika State to lease out Mount Elgon Lodge in U-turn, the government now wants to lease out the Mount Elgon Lodge in a U-turn from an initial planned sale of the state-owned hotel. And elsewhere, Vivo reaps 336 million shillings profit from fuel subsidy bond. Yes, those are the stories on the Business Daily.
All right. Hiyo kitu ya KRA imenikumbusha jana, unaona what happened to Cairo.
Walisemaje?
Kama amefungwa for 3 years. juu of a tax evasion.
Tax evasion.
Na Kerry.
Where? Alikuwa kotini jana?
Huyo amewekelewa bet. I don't know if he was in court, but I saw that post on X. Haya, tuangalie karikacha sasa. The Star.
Kuna bunge.
NGCDF bado inagonga vichwa huku. Referendum, lakini huyu ni is this Raila Odinga?
Kama ingekuwa Raila angekuwa amesema mambo mengine tofauti. Sasa sijui kama ni rais. Lakini inaweza kuwa Raila Odinga. Because Raila Odinga has been very vocal about NGCDF and he says this should not be with MPs, which is actually right. The court has pronounced itself on the same. So probably wanasema sasa kama mnataka NGCDF, the direction is this. Referendum. Wacha wa Kenya amue. Okay, fine. Kenyans would actually agree because they believe NGCDF is a good thing. But is it constitutional to allow members of the National Assembly to carry out executive roles, which is none of their business? Yes. NGCDF can still remain, but it will be carried out by officers of the national government. Yeah.
Hi, the Standard, tawe political temps. Wale watu wa kule Western.
Sasa kuna hawa jamaa wawili wanaitangwa nani na nani?
Aken Popo.
Kuna wale majamaa wawili wanaambiwa ati wakishiba wanakuanga tu sawa, wanaanga kelele. Lakini sasa wanaangalia temperature, wanapima temperature hiyo mercury ni nani? Na inatembea. Ameleta joto sana kule Western. Tawe political temperatures. Wanasikia joto, they are feeling his presence.
Lakini natembea na amesema tawe. Mniwache. Hi, this is the Daily Nation.
This is the People Daily.
Okay.
Star, no.
Ile mtu aliitwa Moneybags. Okay, this is a caricature here of the Deputy President Kithure Kindiki amebeba hapa pesa.
Na ni kama hii pande ya mbele ni kama imegeuka kiasi. Haikuwa imefika hapo.
Yes.
Kama kuna pressure kiasi. According to this cartoonist now is Mr. Moneybags.
Yes. I see kindness. Mwingine anasema I see bribery. Kindiki I see kindness. Okay.
Lakini pale chini kuna trap. Pesa mnazipata, wengine wanaona kama it's kindness, wengine wanaona ni bribery. There's a trap somewhere. Meanwhile, Mr. Moneybags anakaa kweli kweli Moneybags.
Amesema tuheshimiane.
Tuheshimiane. Sema mimi unaona kama naogopa mimi. Finally on the Standard. Pale kuna government na kuna binoculars. I think this is a story we were talking about yesterday, the attempt to actually monitor and turn all your activity on the internet into data, readable data, that will be available to the Communications Authority. So the government is using binoculars to watch what you're doing online. Wanasema you will keep your phone, but I'll have your information. Yes. Kama unaendanga zile site mbaya mbaya, serikali inajua.
Lakini bado ni bill. Ukiwa past itakuja kuwa low. You know, a Nairobi Marketers Night Out, second edition is back. We had, you remember it?
Yes, yes.
Mwaka ikianza uko mwanzo. So there's a second edition coming up this Friday, and we'll be having this conversation with Dr. Stanley Shege Karanja, CEO of Stan Consulting Group Limited. He will be delivering compelling customer value propositions at the Marketers Night Out on Friday. So this conversation will be having from 8 to 9 a.m. But meanwhile, don't go too far. Interact with us on our socials, TV47 Kenya, on Facebook and on YouTube, on X at TV47 News KE. My handle is at Ann_Dida and the hashtag is Morning Cafe.
My handle is at Fred Indemili. Stick right here.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth, as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water?
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can pay at least every 3 years. Somebody should have a pap smear done.
If you are 40, 45, 50 going upwards, once a year, please go see a doctor. Yeah, it's just for normal routine maintenance.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwe watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi.
The rift between Georgia legislator and his purported enemies seems not to culminate any soon, after the latter found himself at the hands of who his family says were unknown abductors Sunday evening. Following the release of distressing images that showed him screaming in agony and in obvious misery, Koimburi's family now claims that his life is now under threat. The legislator, who is presently receiving treatment at Karen Hospital in Nairobi, has been on government's radar since he accused Kenya Kwanza of spending over 13 billion shillings of taxpayers' money to woo African presidents to support former Prime Minister Raila Odinga's bid for the AUC chairpersonship. While visiting Koimburi in Karen Hospital Monday afternoon, former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua said he was out of danger, even though his purported abductors had tortured, leaving him between a rock and a hard place.
Some chemical was administered through inhalation,
And the doctors have told us that preliminary investigations confirm that that chemical has interfered with his vocal cords.
Gachagua urged the international community to closely monitor unfolding events in the country and her neighbors, censuring President William Ruto's government over what he termed as targeting opposition MPs by withdrawing their security details.
And now we have confirmation that President William Ruto, CS for Interior Kipchumba Murkomen, and the Deputy Inspector General, Mr. Eliud Langat, have put up a squad to deal with leaders who are opposed to this regime.
The National Police Service, however, on Monday evening dismissed claims that Koimburi was abducted, saying the MP was under investigation for a land fraud matter and a consent to prosecute was issued by the ODPP. In a statement to newsrooms, NPS spokesperson Mushiri Nyaga said Koimburi had on Friday, 23rd May, having been fully aware of police intentions to arrest, evaded a dragnet and duped police by escaping using a motorcycle, alongside his private security, and switched off his mobile phone. Mushiri said a special team from DCI headquarters was working on the purported abduction video and all the circumstances surrounding these allegations with a view of getting conclusively to the bottom of this matter.
He has serious soft tissue injuries. This is torture normally done by professionals. He has lost his voice, and the doctors are working round the clock to restore his vocal cords. And the Honorable Koimburi has been able to communicate through writing because he is not able to speak.
Following his remarks on the African Union Commission chairpersonship, Koimburi was also accosted by DCI detectives in February this year, while he was traveling to Parliament here in Nairobi. Mike Kagwango, TV 47, Nairobi.
Yes, indeed. You're still watching Morning Cafe. That story forms our biggest discussion this morning. It is a big headline on the front page of The Standard, sliding into anarchy, and on the front page of the Daily Nation, calling it state terror. This morning, we're privileged to have in studio Meshach Odede, a political commentator. Karibu sana bwana Odede.
Thank you.
The front page of The Standard, if you look at it, there's a line there. There's only one story on that front page. There's a line there in red. They say this is a Kenyan MP, a representative of the people, abducted, tortured, and left for dead. A very disturbing photo on the front page of this paper. Police say this is self-inflicted. And that's where we start. Who should we believe?
Thank you, Fred. There is one thing, I don't know how many times we are going to say this, because this is not the first time something like this happens to a leader. And there are other leaders who have seen, not even leaders, even Kenyans who are not leaders. It is supposed to still be a headline somehow, even if it were just a normal Kenyan. But one thing, Fred, for me, has been said, and I keep repeating, I don't know how many times we are going to repeat this for government to hear. Once you take oath of office as the President of the Republic, and everybody who works below you, they are under your command. And it should be you who gives answers whenever life of any Kenyan is threatened, whether threatened inside the country or outside the country, because when you're taking oath of that office, you're simply telling Kenyans that I am going to ensure that no life of a Kenyan citizen is threatened, whether in the country or outside. No property of a Kenyan is under threat within the country or outside, because that is why you are given the supreme power above every other single Kenyan. You are number 1, 001. So the story of our police officers in the higher ranking telling us that this is self-inflicted. Yes, it is possible, because politicians also are dramatic in many ways. It is very possible. But it is still your duty to stop them from endangering their life.
And if that is the case, shouldn't it be as a result of an investigation by police before declaring the same that this person did this to himself. And we have
Exactly. That's where I'm headed to. Whether I am inflicting on myself an injury or someone is doing, it is your job to secure my life. That is your job as government. So first, give us evidence of me doing this by myself and why you were not able to stop me. Because when you are given authority and budget as a police department, you are supposed to maintain law and order, including me being endangering myself. So number one, this is now, number two, this is now a member of parliament. It means they have bodyguards who are police officers, either one or two. By now, we should be having those people, because every other place where there is a problem, the person who was with you as your bodyguard answers the first question. When you were abducted, where were they? Who did they see? Were they police officers? So we should not be left as Kenyans to battle with questions, Fred, me and you in studio asking questions. Who actually abducted this guy? If Meshach was abducted, I am not a state officer. I am not having any bodyguard who is a police officer or anything. So those questions can be asked. Who actually did this? But here is a Kenyan who is having a police officer attached to him as a member of parliament. We shouldn't be asking that question. The police officer who is his bodyguard should be already telling us the people who abducted Mheshimiwa so-and-so are from the police, because police know each other very well, or they are not from the police. So we should begin from there and say, police, where were you when civilians were attacking a honorable member of parliament? And if they were police, then we should ask questions. Police, tell us why you are attacking a whole member of parliament as if you are gang, not a police. If he is supposed to be arrested, then arresting is not the same as attacking a member of parliament in the manner we are seeing. So whether they were self-inflicting on matters politics, why didn't you stop them doing this? Because it is a bad image for the country, it is a bad image for police, it is a bad image for government. So why were police not able to stop them giving police a bad name like this? So in all fairness, the government should understand, at the end of the day, the question goes to them and they are supposed to give the answers.
Right. Recently we saw an incident, or rather disturbing incident, where a member of the same National Assembly was assassinated in broad daylight in Nairobi. And we saw the kind of reaction by police, very fast, arrests were made very quickly. Do you think this should be given the same kind of treatment, that within hours, within 24 hours, at least we will know who exactly did it to him, even if it is himself?
Actually, for all Kenyans, that is the speed that it should have, even if it were not a member of parliament. The expectation of a normal Kenyan is we have a government in place. That is why we have allegiance to that government. We owe it to them even to give our taxes so that they can organize how our security as a country. So even if it is the least of a Kenyan, the problem is, if it is a member of parliament, then it takes a lot more than it does when it is a normal Kenyan. So that is what brings the issue of normal Kenyans now feel like, I mean, it's not a big deal, you know. We see a lot of this happening. And young people will tell you, hapa mtaani, these things happen every day. So for some people, by the way, it's not a big deal. Simply because we have gotten used to so many bad things until people feel like it should also happen to them so that they would know what we feel every day. But ideally, it should be happening to no one, even the people who you differ with politically or the people on your side. So we expect the government to just give proper answers. Whenever they give a narrative that this is self-inflicted, they should follow with very good credible evidence that even media houses can tell these are the evidences that the police gave when they are claiming this. The problem is they usually give their part of the story and then they back it with no evidence completely. So it leaves enough politics in between. So the people of one section of political divide will claim the government are doing this, and their evidence is what the cameras caught. The guy was injured. And the other side will claim with no evidence. So all in all, if I were advising William Ruto, the president, politically, I would tell him, this thing should stop because our security are in your hands.
Yes, and on the issue of abductions, because we've been discussing it for over close to a year now, immediately after the Gen Z protests, abductions, many cases were reported.
Yeah.
Yet, till now,
yes,
there has been no comprehensive report on what happened to those who were abducted last year.
Yeah.
And the trend seems to be continuing. Should we expect anything different? Because even the president made a very casual statement about the same a couple of weeks back, and Kenyans are wondering, okay, fine, is that it? Should we expect this to continue without anyone giving us at least a report with recommendations on what happened and going forward what should happen, at least for us to achieve closure?
Fred, the third thing that probably the government, all security organs that we have in the country should understand, the more you do not give comprehensive or satisfactory answers to the questions that people ask as a country on matters security, the more you are opening the floodgates for people with bad intentions. Because if anybody would attack me today, they are clear. They know the investigations will not be done, and so they will not be in any trouble. Number one. Number two, they know if any attempt happens to talk about my case, it will be politicized, and it will be automatically said, this was abduction. So even people who probably have done something wrong to them and they feel like they don't want to go to the police to sue me or do anything, because there are such people out here. We do not want to lie to ourselves that there are no normal citizens who have got bad intentions about each other. But when police misses to dig deep, you see, we either watch on movies or we see the real-time situation in developed world. People know that if you commit any offense, especially that deals with the life of another citizen, the investigations will be thorough. In other countries that are first world, the investigation will be thorough. And you will be found, even if you leave the country and you are in another part of the world, you will be found. So that makes people know that by the time I want to do this, I am ready for those consequences. But here we can always do anything and we are not ready for the consequences, and the consequences don't even come anyway. So it makes people want to do more crime every day. So police should know that the more we dig deep, the more we go fast, we stop other people with bad intentions, because they will say it will happen like I saw in the other case. So if the case for the late MP Ondowere, for example, would be fast-tracked and justice will be found that with all the evidences, these are the people who planned, these are the people who killed, and they are behind bars. Anybody else who wants to take a life of a member of parliament will know it will come to pass that I will be jailed.
Right.
Or anybody who does anything to any Kenyan, they know our police will not leave this matter alone. But like what we see this today, then we see another one tomorrow, then we see another one the next day, and nothing happens, then I get confident that fulani akinichezea nitacheza kama mimi, and nothing will happen, because evidence are there that nothing usually happens.
Yes.
So police should make us respect them. Okay. And when they come to even lay claims that this is self-inflicted, we are not refusing, those are all possibilities, but back it with some evidence. Convince people that for sure from the evidence, even if later on it is found the opposite side, but we can say as at that time all the evidence were pointing that this was the... But they usually hide behind some sentiments like oh, the matter is under investigations. I can't talk about the case that is under investigation. Talk about it. Let us know as a country that this is what you've done, this is what you plan to do, and what you've done already gives us a direction. This is where we are.
All right.
Yeah.
Talking about consequences, there's an interesting headline that may escape the attention of so many people on page 15 of the Standard.
Yeah.
And it talks about the former police IG, Japhet Koome. Under the headline, court confirms Koome's role in police brutality.
Yeah.
So former Inspector General of Police, Japhet Koome, has suffered a significant legal blow after the High Court dismissed his bid to overturn a ruling that held him personally accountable for police brutality against striking doctors, including the Secretary General of KMPDU, Dr. Davji Atela. Yes? Now, this would indicate some sort of consequences and personal liability on the part of people running police agencies or security agencies. And I'll take you back to now the story on page, still on the same paper, on page 3, which is questioning the 4 men in charge of police and security agencies. That's Interior CS Kipchumba Murkomen, the current police IG Douglas Kanja, National Intelligence Service Director Nurdin Haji, and DCI boss Mohamed Amin. There seems to be a notion that in Kenya, no one takes responsibility for anything and everyone goes scot-free. If we may go with the story about Japhet Koome, shouldn't that be the way to go? That even after you leave office, if at all you're found to have been culpable in some of these instances, you will face the consequences.
Yeah, Fred, this is what I usually hold, that we have a good constitution, but unfortunately, the software of this constitution was not ours. We borrowed the constitution a lot from other countries, and then we are busy implementing the hardware part. And when it comes, because that is where the line is usually drawn, when somebody is supposed to take responsibility. Every other part of the constitution, we are okay. And we push for it, and we are like, we want to see all these chapters are implemented. That is great. The only part nobody is willing to implement, from the president all the way down to where I am, is where somebody is taking responsibility. Our constitution goes as far as telling us what is wrong. And then who is supposed to take responsibility is a question we don't want, because we have a lot of politics in this. Right now, the side of Honorable Koimburi, politically, the politically aligned people in Parliament on his side, also do not want to give any other reasoning a chance. For them, it is well concluded. The government, the opposite side, does this to us. So there is no reasoning on their side as well. The opposite side also gives no chance for any reasoning. The government is mweupe kama pamba. They did that to themselves. So the common mwananchi in the middle remains, now remains only with what they see in the media, only what the media will report. So the media will report just the face value, like we saw him lying on the grass. That is enough for our news, because we saw a man who is supposed to be honorable member of parliament lying injured somewhere and then taken to hospital. So the media will do their part. We'll report to you where he was seen lying and the hospital he was taken. Then the next minute, a normal Kenyan will now get confused, because one side will now be telling us the story of how they did themselves. One other side, his side, will be telling us how government did this to one of our own. Then the police will come to defend themselves. They are always coming like they are accused. If the police knows we have a police who was attached to this member of parliament, why should this be a big deal? It should be obvious. The police who was attached should have been questioned, and the police who was attached should give the credible evidence to the big boss. Now this is where the role of the IG comes in. And yes, we are talking about people like Koome and why they had to take the responsibility. Because at the end of the day, the police, all the police in Kenya is under him. So if it cannot be him directing the police down here, then the minister in charge of internal security is giving those directions. And if the minister in charge of internal security is not giving those directions, then the president is the only other person who can give such kind of directions. So they should go for a meeting, and then one of them should come out and tell us, we have agreed, I am taking this responsibility. Yeah.
Yet we've seen instances where, while still in office, some of these senior security bosses defy even the courts. And they cannot be arrested because probably you're the police IG, and you even defy summons openly. Does it mean that these individuals can only be held responsible after leaving office?
The truth is, in the hardware part, like I told you, at the level where somebody is supposed to take responsibility in Kenya, that's where we draw the line. This other side where we are still mentioning the Constitution and what it says and what should be done, that's okay, we all agree, until somebody is supposed to take responsibility. So when you go to that direction, you will realize that even the president will tell you at some point, I had given the police their budget, they are independent, I am not controlling them, blah, 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 until there is something beautiful that gives credit, then the police now belongs to him. The police now, our police, we congratulate our police, we do this, until there is something wrong, then the police is independent. Nobody wants to take responsibility. Fred, for example, we came from an election which was nullified sometimes back when Uhuru was the president. We spent as a country about 50 billion plus in that election. Maraga nullified that election and even missed to tell us. He only told us the Constitution was not followed. But who deviated the whole commission away from the Constitution up to now, we don't know, because no one ever takes responsibility. So the Constitution we have could be beautiful, but as long as we draw the line at the point of taking responsibility, we will not go too far as a country.
The issue now is, from which direction can we approach this conversation for it to be consequential enough to provide closure to our nation? Because we have hundreds of people who are allegedly abducted by security agencies. Up to now, there's no report telling us any of that. Should we still just wait for police to say they're doing their investigations, of which they are the ones also accused of doing the same, or should we go another direction? We would have expected probably even a probe by Parliament on the issue of abductions. Nothing happened. We've had suggestions by IPOA that probably we should go the public inquiry way, where a special commission of inquiry is set up to try and get us to a point of closure. From which direction do you think we should approach this conversation?
Fred, the truth is, all these things can be done from the office of the president. Because if president takes responsibility to some things, his ministers will automatically take responsibility to some things. The PSS will automatically take responsibility because it comes from the higher authority. So when the president is able to come out and take responsibility to some of the things that are closer to him enough, then the people who he appointed in such offices are learning directly from that and able to. And it comes back to us, the common mwananchi, that I know if it happens like this, it is our culture as a country, everybody takes responsibility for their actions or missing action, because there is action and missing action. If my office is charged with responsibility of keeping you safe as a policeman, if anything endangers your life and I failed in that duty, even me as a police officer down here should take that responsibility, because it starts from there. The minister in charge of internal security, the IG, should ask you, when this was happening to Honorable Koimburi, where were you, what did you do? Because that is why police have got internal affairs, So the question right now we should be dealing with is whether the police officer who is supposed to be his security did enough or did not do anything. When he is found that he might not have done enough, he takes the fair share of the responsibility, and the government also takes the other part of responsibility if there is something they did, including the IG. Because right now, everybody will point, even the political class. We need to take care of ourselves to a certain level where if we do certain things happens, we can also be able to say, at this point, I think we also need to take responsibility. This and this should not have happened. We should not have done this even as leaders. But here, we leave it like everybody else has run away from the responsibility, then police remains the only one. Then police also looks around and say, if everybody is running away from responsibility, maybe even the IG as the boss told us to do this. But now, in the camera, we can't say he told us to do this. He has also run away from the responsibility. Why should I not run away? That is why the culture has grown. So for me, this thing should start from the upper chambers.
All right.
If one day the president will learn to take responsibility in this country, all the ministers, PSS, and everybody will learn from that and take responsibility.
Allow me to welcome Joe Mutambu to the panel. Joe Mutambu is a former MP Mwingi Central. Karibu sana, Bwana Mutambu. And we're just looking at the front page of the Standard, a very disturbing photo there of a sitting member of parliament. The headline is Sliding into Anarchy. They say this is a Kenyan MP, a representative of the people, abducted, tortured, and left for dead. You've served in the National Assembly. You know the level of security that is accorded to people at that level. Looking at this picture, because the reaction by some people is that he did this to himself. He abducted himself, he tortured himself, he left himself for dead somewhere. What is your take?
Hidimoli, first and foremost, I'm saddened by what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing and what I'm reading. It is so sad that as a country, we are finding ourselves here. The question is, what happened to us as a nation, as a country? It doesn't matter, an MP, MCA, governor, senator. It should not happen to any Kenyan or any living person, somebody who has life. And it is responsibility of the government to protect its own people. And I'm liking the discussion of who is responsible. Let me tell you, we have institutions, and those institutions draw instructions from the level of the pecking order. And what I know in this country, if there are people who are so disciplined, it's our police. A police will not act without an order. Before police leaves the station, there is what we call occurrence book. They book what they are going to do, or they are told what to go to do. And it goes with that pecking order until you reach the commander. If today the president could come out and say, I don't want to see, saying it will not happen, and saying, I don't want to see this, it will not happen. But because he has not cautioned, and maybe whatever is being done there is playing to the gallery, or PR for that matter, the juniors, they have an order. They know what they are doing, and who they are doing for, and who sent them. No police has got any grudge with any Kenyan, let me tell you this. No police. No police has got any problem with you. Until I go to them and I tell them I have a problem with the Muli, so can you deal with him in this manner? Until the boss tells They are juniors. You know what? That person. We want that person either taught a lesson or that person. Until that order comes, there is no single either junior or senior or whatever police officer who will wake up from his house and go and start doing such things to Kenyans. Never. So what does that tell us? Orders are coming from somewhere. And why is this happening? And why is it happening to only those who oppose the current regime? Why is it happening to those who are opposing? Why is it not happening to those who are also pro? Those are the questions Kenyans are asking. And we are very diligent for your information. Kenyans are very diligent. So we can see the trend and we can see what is happening. If it was happening randomly to any person, then we could say there are issues out there. But when it is happening to only those who are opposing the regime, then you don't need to be a rocket scientist to understand where the orders are coming from. It is quite unfortunate that such a things can happen, and we can wake up one day and see this picture. Imagine this picture was, because this is a son of person. So there is somebody who called this man my son. Now imagine it's a son of the president. We are saying like this. Imagine. Will he keep quiet? I doubt. Will the minister keep quiet? I doubt. So we have not even heard a call from the leadership, security leadership, saying or condemning such an instance. I may have my own opinion, political opinion. I may differ with you, but to reach to a point whereby you can use force to either intimidate or to harm me, then that is against humanity.
What do you say to those claiming that this could be self-inflicted?
You know, I don't understand Kenyans. I really don't. Why would you, wish that somebody is trying to pretend? Are we saying that Mheshimiwa Were went and got thugs to come and kill him? Is that what you're saying? Is that what we are saying as Kenyan? That the member of parliament who was killed just the other day, he went and organized for his killing? Are you telling me the people who are put in, what is that dump site? You want to tell me that they organized themselves to be cut in pieces and put in a sack? You know, sometimes we have also to up our thinking. Let us not look at these things myopically based on how and who we are supporting politically. Mm-hmm. Let us think of people's life. Let us think about human beings. Let us think about ourselves as Kenyans. And let us not step too low to just wake up and start talking of things which are not there because we want to please our political masters.
And now you mentioned that case of the late MP for Kasipul, who was killed in Nairobi in broad daylight. The kind of reaction we saw from even the leadership of parliament and even colleagues on that same day, have you seen anything like that with this latest incident? Okay, fine, Koimburi did not pass away, but have you seen even that level of police reaction in this instance?
No, I have not seen. And I can tell you the reason why we saw that. It is because Mheshimiwa Were hails from Nyanza. And there is political interest from that region. Very huge political interest. So he may, or maybe he was against the regime because he was a critic for Ruto. Okay? But because he comes from Nyanza, and the political leadership and the political fraternity of Nyanza were now threatening, no, this is not right. And every person was talking loudly about it. Something had to be done. Because the thing was, this is the region we are depending on. Because I can tell you today, without fear of any contradiction, if that region withdraws its support to the government today they say we are no longer there, we don't have a government and we don't have a president, because he will fall. That is the only pillar supporting Ruto, that region. And it is so because of Raila Amolo Odinga. If he withdraws his support, Ruto is kaput, finished. So because they could not afford to have that pillar removed or shaken, the machinery was to be deployed to show that something is happening, and like people were looking at it that the government is involved or whatever, or political rearrangement from the government was involved. They had to do whatever it takes to prove to the world, not only Kenyan, that they are working on it and they were not involved in any manner. So there was political interest which was invested in that kind of investigation. But on this one, my good friend, we are in trouble.
Fred, the whole thing begs one question. To what extent does our police go to protect the people who they are attached to protect, especially members of parliament? The incidents of the late Ongondowere that you're talking about, we saw the first suspect were the police who was supposed to be his bodyguard. And they were the ones to first tell why they didn't even do anything while Honorable Ongondowere was being killed by unknown gunman. But here in the case of Koimburi, I don't hear the story much about the police who is attached to it. Because how can somebody just go and take away a mheshimiwa who I am the police attached to? And there is no commotion, nothing, like, because we don't see the story where this police was fighting to guard Honorable Koimburi. So it begs a whole lot of questions. The police who was attached to him when he was being taken, we didn't see him fighting.
There have been claims by police that they were not the ones who were holding Koimburi. And if at all that was the case, wouldn't his police bodyguards have filed a report that the person I'm supposed to be protecting?
Yeah, because we are seeing the end game where Koimburi is now lying on the grass. But right now, I can't just walk out of this studio and say, I'm going to grab Honorable so-and-so out there. It can't happen. The police who is attached to him or her will stop me. And if I have to grab him by force, there will be a commotion. It will be the biggest news first before we get to the final end result where he's now lying on the grass. So can we run this story back and see where he was being grabbed by force and the other police who is given to him was protecting him? We don't see that part of the story.
I'll tell you how it works. I have been a member of parliament and I have interacted with my colleagues. I can tell you there are members of parliament who prefer to be alone. Sometimes they even drive themselves. They even tell their bodyguards, don't come tomorrow. It happens. And I can tell you, they are there, they are out there. So we cannot just jump to a conclusion that the police, I will not go that route because it is something which I know.
But if you're a police officer assigned to guard someone,
yeah,
and then at some point, whether or not you are with them, they go missing, shouldn't it be your responsibility to go to report that this person who's under my care is missing?
You see, now that information, I don't think it is for public to consume because this is about my private bodyguard. And when he goes to report, he will report to his senior.
Yes.
How that information is processed to the public is something else, which you cannot sit down here and start doubting whether the police acted accordingly or they never did their job.
But couldn't that be a confirmation that it's actually police who picked him up? Because even his police bodyguard did not see the need to report.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I don't want to say it is the police, but they have a role to play. And I'm saying not only the members of parliament, even civilians, even any Kenyan is entitled to police protection, okay? And something like this, and you know, let me tell you, when you see such an instance, they are not done or performed by novices. It is done by professionals who know what they are doing. It is not just anybody who comes and grabs you and then take you there. No. It is performed by professionals. And one other thing, when we go back to where, I know, yes, police are supposed to act swiftly, but there are some circumstances when you are attacked, either from outside. How do you react to that? And it is not only Were. Can you take the incident of Mheshimiwa who was killed, including all the bodyguards were also killed. So also the life of those police are at risk at that particular moment. So we cannot just fire at police and say they were not responsible. No, we need to get to understand what happened to the bodyguard. Like he's saying, let's go back now to where they parted way with their bodyguard until somebody or some people came and grabbed him. We need to understand that.
Yeah, because Fred, I think Honorable Joe Mutambo came in when we were discussing who takes responsibility, and that is what I was talking about. If, for example, like Honorable Mutambo says, at some point a member of parliament may tell his bodyguard, don't come tomorrow. If we find that on that particular day he had told the bodyguard not to come tomorrow, this is a good lead for investigation, for God's sake. I'm not even a security expert, but it is a common sense. Could he have known why did he do that? Yeah? And was it just a coincidence? Because if I told my bodyguard not to come tomorrow, then that tomorrow something happens to me. It's either there is something I know, but if it is not me, then my bodyguard sold me out, because who else knew that my bodyguard was not coming that day so they can come and grab me? Because it's common sense, that is how it should be followed. So for now, before we get to the scene where he is lying on the grass, we need to retract back and say, was this day when he was being grabbed, the police officer who is attached to him, the IG should now come in and tell us. Instead of telling us, it is not police, he should not even go there first. Tell us, the police who you attached to him has said what? Was he on duty that day? No, he was not on duty. Why? Mheshimiwa told him not to go on duty. Then we can now have two suspects, Mheshimiwa himself and the police officer. Either the police officer leaked the situation and told other people that today Mheshimiwa ako alone, he is alone. So the people got away to go and just grab him. Or if he didn't, then Mheshimiwa, we can now see where evidence leads us. But you don't just come and tell us it is self-inflicted, but there is nothing leading us to that.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. The headline on the front page of the Standard, sliding into anarchy. We have a Kenyan MP, a representative of the people, lying there on the ground, abducted, tortured, and left for dead. The Daily Nation calls it state terror. Let's take a break right now. When we come back after the break, we'll be talking some politics. You're watching Morning Cafe.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's mind. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create.
Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up.
When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water?
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can pay at least every 3 years. Somebody should have a pap smear done.
If you are 40, 45, 50, going upwards, once a year, please go see a doctor. Yeah, it's just for normal routine maintenance.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hat.
Na mimi nataka niwashukuru watu wa hapa sehemu hii kwa kunipatia huyu muungwana anaitwa Profesa Kindiki. Huyu muungwana niwaambie sasa niko na deputy. Huyu anaelewa barabara, anajua stima, anajua mpango ya serikali ya SHA. Ni mtu mwadilifu. That is how we are going to change Kenya. Ni mnanielewa? Yes. Ananisaidia kusukuma hii gurudumu. Mumemuona sehemu mbalimbali akisukuma gurudumu ya Kenya. Sio mtu ya kisirani, sio mtu ya hasira, sio mtu ya chuki, sio mtu ya ukabila, ni mtu anaelewa Deputy President si mtu ya Meru. Deputy President ni wa Republic of Kenya.
All right. That statement is just a lead to the kind of discussion we're going to have. Of course, it is a much bigger discussion about the scramble for the Mount Kenya region. But this is where it starts. At the weekend, the current deputy president hosted a number of musicians from the Mount Kenya region. And then there was a reaction from the former deputy president. It led to a very heated exchange between the two gentlemen. Now we're seeing President William Ruto coming and commenting about the same. It would appear the story and the debate, political debate, is still very much focused around the Mount Kenya region. Bwana Dede, why do you think this is? Because the mathematics should have moved on to something else.
Fred, the story has to still remain in the Mount Kenya region because of the role the Mount Kenya region played in probably bringing this government into power. The solid base for President William Ruto in the 2022 general election were Mount Kenya and the greater Rift Valley, which is largely the Kalenjin community. These are the two pair hands that pushed him into power. And so right now with his him breaking ranks with Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, who was his deputy, and politically perception and every other signal says Mount Kenya are moving away with Rigiji. So the story has to remain there for quite some time. By the time it will shift, it shall have taken more than just a normal 1, 2, 3, 4 exchange, and then it goes. But the question is, according to the president, he now has a deputy. Anybody, let me see from a perspective of a man who did not vote him like me. How does he want to convince me that he now has a better deputy than the one he chose himself? Because deputy, according to the constitution, is chosen by the man who is running with the ticket. Raila chose Martha and left every other person, and Ruto picked Rigathi, and he confirmed to us that there was a tie when he tried to consult, and many were in the favor of Kindiki, and he insisted that he wanted Rigathi. So if he did this, what he has not come out to tell Kenyans is why he insisted on Rigathi and not Kindiki. Because right now, he presses Kindiki as if Kindiki was not there when he was going for Rigathi. The story confirms the opposite. So if he made a wrong choice once, why does he want me to just believe if he comes back and say, now this is the right choice? But who made this choice now for him? It is him again. When Rigathi was being impeached, he knew very well after that impeachment who is coming into this seat. But there is also some fallacy around Mount Kenya politicians, because I may not be in parliament, but at least I watched more than 40 MPs gathering somewhere in Meru and declaring to Kenyans that from today, the kingpin for us is Honorable Kindiki, when Rigathi had not been impeached. How do they turn around again and say it is Ruto who impeached Rigathi? And now, I mean, there's just something that doesn't make sense. So if Ruto feels, because the deputy president is supposed to be principal assistant to you as the president, if he feels like Kindiki meets the objective, then I think we should just let him run with Kindiki until he sees he is not able to do, and maybe tell us how he is willing to again impeach him and get another one. But that is from our perspective as men and women who did not vote him. So we have very little to say about his choice around his deputy and all that. If we had been in government with Raila Odinga and Martha, we would have known what to say at such a time as this.
All right, but
maybe Honorable Joe was on that side can tell us.
but it would appear we're being driven towards a narrative where the two gentlemen are going toe to toe. It's Rigathi Gachagua vis-a-vis Professor Kithure Kindiki. Do you think that kind of push would work in favor of this administration?
Edemoli, there are things I can't compare now. Being a politician and knowing the ground very well, I will not compare Kindiki and Gachagua in Mount Kenya. One, people of Mount Kenya are so independent politically than any other region. And what those people decide to do, it doesn't matter who is at top. And we saw it, they had Uhuru Kenyatta, who told them, let us vote Raila Odinga in. And the people, it is not Gachagua who said no. It is the people of Mount Kenya who said no. And I'm on record telling you here, Mount Kenya and Ruto is finished. It's no there. It doesn't matter what is done. Professor is a very nice, humble man, very good person. He's a very good friend of mine, and I know him, and I respect him so much. My fear is only one. Ukiona ya mwenzako kichwa nanyolewa, yako paka maji. The same praise Ruto is showering Kindiki with, are the same words he used for Gachagua. There's no difference. The same praise that this is the man, good man, a Christian, somebody who is so mtu mwenye mchapakazi, all those things they were said about Gachagua. What changed, nobody knows. Today we are hearing the same words being poured to Kindiki. Is now the man, is the deputy president. My word is only one. And for Kindiki, because he's just a humble person, he would hold on and he would be there maybe for this 1.5 years. We don't know, because from where I sit, and I ask Kenyans to forgive me, but this is the way I see it. I don't know which mouth to believe about Ruto. I don't know. I don't know what to believe about what Ruto says. It is the same Ruto who told the entire world, and I was there with him, and we went around, and he told us that Raila is a Muganga, Raila is a don't know what, there is no Nusumukate. We have heard it all. I don't know what we have not heard. We have heard him say that handshake is I don't know what, there's a conundrum, something. He gave it a name. And he said it's a nonsense, which brought the Uhuru's government to knees. It is Ruto who told us that. And today, we are hearing a different narrative from the same Mr. Ruto, telling us how Raila is good and how he has come to help him and how he's now broad-based, is going to unite Kenya. And he said, he asked the Kenyans, who said there is no, we cannot be united without a handshake. It is him who said that. So I don't know which Ruto to believe. So I don't know whether I should believe the Ruto who was saying Gachagua is a good man, or I should believe the Ruto who is saying Kindiki is the good man. Where am I driving to? I'm driving to future. Because in next 2 years, everybody will be out there, including Mutambo, trying now to look for an office. Kindiki is at that apex, being now the deputy president. The assumption is he will be the running mate. That is the assumption. The question is, will he? So if he will not be the running mate of Ruto, because looking at the political dynamics, I am not seeing Ruto picking Kindiki. Looking at the political dynamics.
Is that the pressure that Kindiki is under?
Let me tell you, if the current, if my good friend and my senior, Raila Amolo Odinga, ought on to Ruto to the ballot, I'm not seeing Kindiki anywhere there in between. So today is a good man, is the deputy president. What will happen in 2026, 2027? Will he still be the man? So if he will not be the man, which words for Mr. Ruto should I believe?
All right. For any politician of Kindiki's caliber, he definitely understands this. That if Raila Odinga still sticks there, then his position as deputy president is probably just for the next 1.5 years or so. Do you think that he's now trying to carve his own path, and by doing so probably try and fight for a share of the Mount Kenya base?
I think for me it's not a loss for Kindiki, because when people went for the general election, there is that time that he wanted that seat badly. And you remember when Ruto named Rigathi, he went missing for a few days.
He almost went for
he actually said he was going to take some leave. And he had to be, I don't know what he was told, to come back. And after that, I am imagining that he was now, he made peace with the position he was given when they formed government. And this came as a result of God knows what. So for me, I think his ambitions, he has reached there because this was what he wanted as at 2022. So if he doesn't go back to run with William Ruto in the next general election, he has made a name, he has occupied that office. The only other office remaining is presidency. And so maybe he still have many years he could look for the presidency. But we can't force him to try and maintain that seat if it is not working, because we know constitutionally the deputy president is supposed to be the principal assistant to the president, but that is just as the constitution says. There is what it is, and there is what it should be. So what it should be is a principal assistant, but what it is the extra vote you need as the president. So we know constitutionally this man or woman should be one that is your principal assistant. You should actually look at it from the angle that this is a man whom, if I am no longer there for God knows for whatever reason, can run this country and reach our dream which my government has.
You may have seen that clip from the weekend where he was speaking and trying to respond to Rigathi Gachagua over the comments about the musicians. And we have it. I don't know if my director has it. We could play it.
Yeah.
The fact that he sounded a bit different from what we've seen, angrier.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Because he has maintained a very calm demeanor till now. Is he trying to change his way of politics, probably to try and secure something bigger or to compete with his predecessor?
You see, it is Honorable Rigathi who came up and named him Mr. Yes. So anatoa kucha so that he refutes that, so that it cannot be true what he says about me, that I am a very soft Mr. Yes. So I want to show him that hata mimi niko na kucha naweza toa. So that is what I saw. So he is just trying to refute, because Fred, the communication experts will tell you that 55% of communication is in our body language. Maybe the words I'm saying are only carrying 8%, or that is why I can tell you something, but you read my body language and say this guy is lying. Because 55% is contained in the body language. So Kindiki probably was giving us the 55% with the body language that I am not a Mr. Yes.
Do we have that clip? Oh, okay. We're still looking for it. What did you make of that? Because it was very unlike, it was not typical of
the one we know.
You know, calling me name will not change who I am. And political names stick very fast. And you can go back to history. I don't know Muganga. I don't know Watermelon. I don't know my DVD. I don't know Kahongo. If you react to those kind of mimics, then you lose it as a leader. The fight of Mount Kenya, you will not win it with anger. No, it will not support. I mean, it will not help you by getting angry and then shouting at people or saying, no. You have a country to run. You have an office to run. Run the office. There is a part to play politics. Play politics at his level. The level Kindiki is not the same level with Gachagua. Gachagua now is a man who is not in the office. Today, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya is one Professor Kindiki. And the moment he wakes up to speak, he's speaking as Deputy President. He's not speaking as a person who is fighting for Mount Kenya votes. No. And even if he engages to that war, he will not win. He cannot win. Why? Because he's fighting for a person who many people loved him, including Mutambo. Let me say this. I loved Ruto so much. I worked for Ruto so much. There's a man I believed in him, and so many other Kenyans. But do you know what Ruto did when he became the president? He killed all his friends. He killed the friendship with every person, including Mutambo. So what reason as a politician do I have today to stand behind him? Because he was never there for me when he got the power. When we were going to election, Idimuli, you may be surprised. This is a man who was calling me 5 times a day. And if he's listening, I can even show you my phone. And we can even go to Safaricom. During election, 2 weeks, 3 weeks to election, he was calling me 3, 4, 5 times a day because he needed votes for Mwingi Central. When I delivered the votes for Mwingi Central, that man until today has never picked my call. Why should I be there for him? Likewise, in Central, people feel that he has betrayed them. They came out, they showed him love. They voted him in with a lot of love and a lot of respect. But as of today, they feel that he has betrayed that love and that trust. So this is the problem we are having. Problem is not Gachagua, problem is not Kindiki, problem is not the leaders there. It is the people themselves. When I go to Mwingi, when I stand like this, people ask me, you told us about Ruto. Where are you? Mm-hmm. What has Ruto done to us? So those are the memories with the people on the ground. And to change that narrative, it is not easy.
But Fred, I have a problem with Mutambo. What exactly did Ruto do to Mount Kenya? Because Kindiki is coming from Mount Kenya, so if Rigathi was impeached, he replaced Rigathi with Kindiki. And as we speak today, unless it has changed some few seconds ago, Mount Kenya still has the largest share even in the cabinet. I can understand your bit of Mwingi, that one is given. But the one you are now adjudicating for, what exactly did Ruto do to Mount Kenya? Because they are still having lion shares in government, including cabinet positions, PSS, and all that. So what would you say to other parts of the country who probably have one or two?
Let me teach you politics.
And before you even come, I said earlier, we saw the members of parliament from that region who came to us first on television and told us, we have now decided it is Kindiki. That was not William Ruto. That was the members of parliament you're now claiming he has betrayed. Politicians, don't trade with us like foolish people.
Thank you.
We see what you people do.
Let me teach you.
For you, I can understand, maybe you had agreed for something he was going to give you, he did not give you. But again, how do you expect the president to call you 3-5 times a day? He was not president then. He is president. He has a country to run. How do you expect him to call you five times a day?
Let me teach you politics. When you go to regions, it is not everybody you just greet or you touch who makes a decision in that region. Let me tell you. When you go to Nyanza, and you want Nyanza to be part of you, you just don't pick anybody to be next to you.
Yes.
You pick Raila or anybody close to that.
Yeah.
Okay, that status.
Yeah.
If you pick anybody and Raila walks away from you, he has walked away with Nyanza.
Yes.
Let me give you another example. Go to Ukambani.
Yeah.
Just pick anybody to be with you. And you ignore Kalonzo.
Yeah.
The entire Ukambani has gone with
him.
And I am a live testimony.
Yeah.
Uhuru picked me in Ukambani. I was the person in charge of Ukambani during Uhuru's time. And he ignored Kalonzo.
Yeah.
All campers went with Kalonzo.
Yes.
I was left alone. I even lost my seat.
Yes.
Okay? So that is what I'm telling you happened in Mount Kenya. In Mount Kenya, people believed in Gachagua. For your information, you may not know this. You may not like the man. I come from there. Let me tell you for you to understand. And the day Ruto touched Gachagua, the entire Mount Kenya felt that they were touched. And that's why you see Gachagua today is calling shots, and he even has audacity to say, we are going to boycott your songs. Like same thing, Raila stood up and said, we are going to boycott Brookside. He said so. We are going to boycott Safaricom.
And before you continue,
so those are the things which
allow me,
Mutambo, these are the people who gave Kindiki and
allow me to play the clip.
It is him who picked Kindiki.
Let's have that clip. Let's have that clip.
Nani? Naona watu wengine wanatutisha. Mimi ukiniangalia hivi ni mtu ya kutishwa na watu. Tuheshimiane bwana. Tuheshimiane. Nao wanamuziki walikuja 50, mimi naita wanamuziki 500 wakuje pale Karen. Tujua utafanya.
All right. He went on to say that if at all Gachagua was within shooting range, I think he meant firing range, wangepatana. Anyway, your final comments on this matter.
No, I just wanted,
as you make your final
I just wanted to put it into perspective. Right now, it is easy for Honorable Mutambo to claim that Ruto went and picked the wrong man in Kindiki. But the whole story, including the people who are on the side of Gachagua now, says they favored Kindiki when Ruto was picking the deputy. They all wanted Kindiki, not Gachagua. It is Ruto as an individual who besieged them to just let him go with Gachagua. Now, it is now being flipped as if Ruto went for Kindiki and left Gachagua, and Gachagua was popular.
No,
This
not that way, not that way.
But that is what
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
You know, there's a mistake people or political analysts make. You think that what I know as a leader, or what I say as a leader, represents the people down there. My feeling, or what I think, may not be the collective thinking of the people on the ground. Right? I did not say Kindiki is a wrong candidate. I am only saying that the people of Mount Kenya felt that Ruto took away what they believed in. And you now to come in, and you remember even during the appointment of the ministers, they were saying, come and take all, take Mutai, take I don't know who, but you have nothing here. Those are their own. Why? Because it is not the people of Mount Kenya who said take Kindiki. It is Ruto who went to pick Kindiki. And to them they felt it's an insult, number one. Because they feel that they were not part and parcel of all this kind of change. And they did not want Gachagua to be removed. But Ruto went ahead and removed him, despite the people of Mount Kenya feeling otherwise. Okay? Number two, if you may not know this, where Kindiki comes is not perceived as Mount Kenya. Look at our geography. Kindiki comes from eastern, where is my neighbor. So the people of Mount Kenya, Mulima is here. Kindiki comes from the other side of Mount Kenya, the slopes of Mount Kenya towards Ukambani. That's where he comes from. So the Mount Kenya feels that they have nothing. Let me tell you, it doesn't matter how much we would want to cosmetic this and try to force it to Mount Kenya. It will not go down their throat.
Okay. Now we only have 2 minutes, so a final parting shot only.
Now that is just a supremacy battle between the Meru community and the Kikuyu, because whenever Kikuyu is leading, Meru is part of them, and even where Kindiki comes from is actually solidly Mount Kenya. Until another one from the other side is now supposed to lead, now it is not Mount Kenya anymore. That is selfishness.
Your parting shot?
On this matter?
Not on this matter, on everything we've discussed today.
Anyway, my parting shot would be on the matter of security. I think whether we differ, and this is why some of us have been in support of Raila Amolo Odinga. Even when the abductions were happening, you remember, Fred, they were with Ruto in Homa Bay, and he told Ruto right there, we cannot entertain this. This cannot be entertained. I would have loved to tell our members of parliament to just see parliament as that arm of government that checks the excesses of the executive. Whether you are Osoro, who is a chief whip for the ruling party, or you are coming from the party which Gachagua launched, unite together and say no to anything that is not good for the country. Just be a member of parliament, check the excesses of the executive. When it is 2027, we will discuss issues around how do we go for this election and what are we selling. But for now, let them just check the excesses. Whether you are coming from my party and you are a CS and you're not doing the right thing, let it go to the books that we are checking your excesses. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Meshach. Finally, Bwana Mutambo.
There is nothing to celebrate about when you see a man lying like this. And it beats my understanding how somebody would think that this man is doing it for himself. I want to tell those who are talking that way that today is this man lying there. Tomorrow it could be you, and you don't know from what angle. So we have to be very careful, one, with what we say, what we do, and what we think about others. We need to think of this country as an unit, and as we all belong into it. And responsibility is to all of us, not to only one person. And that's why I was seated here defending the police, because I know sometimes during Sundays, police do not come to work. And they don't. I don't need a bodyguard on Sunday. I mean, you also give them time to go to be with their family. So their police do not guard you 24/7. No, as a member of parliament, there are times when you have the police and there are times when you don't have the police. So we don't want to say what happened to this, but my caution to the nation is that the security is the responsibility of security starts with you. It starts with me. And before I point the finger to any other person, I should point the finger to myself. But the bulk stops at the president. I would wish president comes out today and put to an end all this kind of nonsense. Say you don't want to see this. It doesn't matter who. Whether somebody supports you or they don't support you, they should not go through this kind of terror which is happening today. Because tomorrow, you may not be in power. And you may find yourself in this situation, and it's not a good one.
Thank you so much, Joe Mutambo, former MP Mwingi Central, and Meshach Odede, political commentator. Thank you so much for a vibrant debate this morning on Morning Cafe. After the break, we switch gears and talk matters customer value propositions. Yes, ahead of the Marketers' Night Out, Arno Dida will be having a sit-down with Dr. Stanley Shege Karanja, CEO, Stan Consulting Group Limited. Yes, this morning the headlines state terror on the front page of the Daily Nation, sliding into anarchy, the front page of the Standard. My name is Freddy Ndimuli. Let's do this again tomorrow morning.